The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Gwilda Wiyaka's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the Science of Magic or endorsed in any manner by Gwilda Wiyaka, Relmar McConnell Media Company, its affiliated networks, stations, or employees. Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome to the Science of Magic, a place where science and magic come together to transform fact into evolving truth. We're proudly coming to you through the ever-expanding X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, and can also be found on our website, thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour we'll be exploring Inner Sanctum. Sanctuary. As I hike in the high Colorado mountains, the trail gently winds down to a stream, then opens up, entering an ancient stand of trees. Light filters through the pines, casting rays of warmth onto the cool, rich loam at their bases. The air, kissed by moisture from the bubbling stream, brushes past my face in a tender caress. As I settle down on a flat boulder to rest, birds, silenced by my arrival, take up their song. I calm my body, still my mind, and I'm there. Sanctuary. I step from the Arizona sun through an adobe archway into the courtyard sheltered by trees. Water in a three-tiered fountain cascades into the base, filling the air with its vapor. The perfume from the flower bed dances on the gentle breeze. In the midst of flowering cactus, vine, and roses, her blue robes faded by the sun, statuary of the Madonna stands timeless and serene. I step from the path and sit on a sandstone bench. A small lizard, disturbed by my presence, scampers under a leaf. Mourning dove call to each other from the branches of the deciduous trees. I close my eyes, embrace the moment, and I'm there. Sanctuary. Leaving the busy city street, I pass under a torii gate, through a red door, onto the polished hardwood floor of a small entryway. I remove my shoes and don the slippers thoughtfully left there for my use. My friend greets me, inviting me into the sparsely furnished room. We sit on soft cushions next to a low table. Flanked by bamboo plants in tall black vases, a brass fountain with floating chimes sings softly. She pours tea into white porcelain cups, the sound of the liquid joining the symphony of running water and chimes. I lift the handleless cup to my face and inhale its jasmine essence. Time stands still. I close my eyes in pleasure, and I'm there. Sanctuary. I never cease to wonder at this mystic place found many places. This hallowed ground, nestled magically amongst the mundane. Beauty springs from it in the midst of the city or the desert. Within it all things flourish as it caresses my senses and nurtures my soul. Sanctuary. Every summer I used to go on a solo backpacking trip in the Colorado wilderness to recharge and find my equilibrium. Increasingly, it required going further and deeper into the wilderness to get away from human distractions. When trails were open to four-wheelers, motocross, and ATVs, no matter how far I'd go, the noise and pollution would find me. Even when I hiked trails closed to vehicles, someone would inevitably decide these rules didn't apply to them and blow me off the trail as they thoughtlessly blasted by, tearing up the turf. Finally, in total despair, I journeyed on my dilemma. I asked Spirit where and how I could find the sanctuary I so needed in our shrinking, seemingly unconscious world. The answer? Create it wherever you are. Never before has our world been in greater need of sacredness and peace. Yet the problem is not to be found in the chaotic world, but in each of us. We cannot create outer sanctuary from inner chaos. We must first find inner sanctum. Our guest this hour, Dean Schleiter, has taught natural methods of meditation since 1970. He's the author of several highly acclaimed books and audio programs, including Cinema Nirvana and The Zen Commandments. His latest award-winning book is Natural Meditation, A Guide to Effortless Meditative Practice. A grateful student of Eastern and Western sages in several traditions, Dean has completed numerous pilgrimages. After this commercial break, I'll introduce Dean, and together we'll explore ancient and modern methods of creating inner sanctum. Could be life-changing, so don't go away. You're listening to The Science of Magic. Prior innovative episodes can be found on our website, thescienceofmagic.net. The Science of Magic is produced by Relmar McConnell Media Company, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Though the world seems in turmoil around us, let's not lose our way. The stars still shine down, blessing us with their light. The sun rises every morning, chasing away the cold and darkness. There are good people of service in this world. We have much to be grateful for as we're wrapped in the arms of all of God's creation. This is Gwilda Wiyaka, host of the Science of Magic Radio, wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. I hope your holiday is filled with comfort and joy as you're surrounded by those you love. I'd like to thank all of you for being our loyal listeners on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and for joining us on this grand adventure called life. As the New Year's dawns, let us all stand in truth as we embrace peace. Welcome back. This is the Science of Magic, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Dean Schleiter, the author of several highly acclaimed books. His latest, Natural Meditation, A Guide to Effortless Meditative Practices. His website, deanwords.com. That's DeanWords.com. Dean, thank you for joining us on Science of Magic.
It's great to be here, Wilda.
So, here you go, the chicken and the egg. Which comes first, inner sanctum or sanctuary?
What's the difference?
Good answer. Let's start out with, what is meditation, Dean?
Well, notice that the title of my book is Natural Meditation, because really people have, although there are thousands of specific brands and flavors and traditions of meditation, to my mind, in terms of what you actually do, how they actually work, it breaks down to two main kinds, which I call unnatural and natural. Unnatural meditation is what most people think of, I think, when they think of meditation, which is trying to control the mind, trying to feel a certain way, trying to make your mind blank. I've had so many people over the years, when they hear I'm a meditation teacher, they say, "Oh, I tried to meditate, but it was so hard." And I stop them right there. It would be more accurate to say, I tried to meditate, and therefore it was so hard. It's sort of like looking out at the surface of an ocean and seeing all these waves on it rising and falling and saying, no, I need a calm ocean. I need to flatten out all these waves. So you take a big paddle and you go around, wham, 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 trying to beat all the waves down and make the surface flat. And of course, all you do is you wind up churning up the ocean more. And this is why so many people will tell you, well, I tried to meditate, but it was hard. Natural meditation takes the approach that all we need to do is allow ourselves to be pulled by gravity, to sink down 1 or 2 meters below the surface of the water, and we find out, oh, there's a silent ocean under these waves that's been there all along. It's there even no matter what's going on the surface. So I don't have to bother about the waves. Just allow the gravity to pull me down. Now, I was very fortunate early in my life, and I've been doing this most of my life. I was very fortunate to start off trying to do, I started as a Zen student, and I lasted for about 3 days. I was an utter failure because I couldn't sit still. I was a naturally fidgety kind of person, and I couldn't hold my mind still the way they required me to do. And so I got kicked out of that nest and looked around and found teachers that taught this natural way. And I've studied with teachers that take that approach in several traditions, Buddhist tradition, Advaita tradition, and a few others. So this is what I do. I show people how to just very gently turn your attention within and allow the natural gravitation of the mind, which is to gravitate toward enjoyment, toward silence, toward peace, toward sanctum or sanctuary, if you will. Just allow it to pull us rather than try to push.
So where did the natural form of meditation originate?
It's completely natural. Yeah, I mean, it originates. It's sort of redundant, but it originates from our own nature. People. I think most people, particularly in childhood, have had experiences of just slipping into this wonderful place where time stands still. The mind just becomes peaceful, and you know that feeling where you're just happy for no reason.
Yes, absolutely.
It's what in the New Testament is called the peace that passes all understanding. Right? Mm-hmm. It's a peacefulness which is not on the horizontal plane of cause and effect. It has no cause. Somehow when we fall into that place, we know in some very deep way that this is what life is all about, and in some deep way, this is what I'm all about. This is really who I am on a level much more fundamental than, my politics and my religion and my day-to-day life. And, it's so lovely, and if only I could stay here. So what happens is most people, they have those experiences unbidden. Again, in the New Testament, it says it's like it comes like a thief in the night. But then it goes away. And I had actually several experiences like this in childhood, and then later on I started, in my high school years, I started finding the books, reading the books, and finding out, there are traditions that identify, that give, because most people, they have these experiences and they forget about them because they don't have words for them. But there are these traditions, mostly that have been maintained historically in the East, that have words for it, and most important, say, look, there are methods for opening yourself to it so you can dip into this every day and more have it saturate your life so that you bring it out with you, and more you're living in that place. And even though you're going about your business and, working your job at the bank or doing whatever you do, you're doing it from that place of, everything's fine for no reason.
My original Lakota teacher had a persona about him that was very much like that. He was so very present in the moment and completely involved in whatever he was doing. It was kind of meditative. And one of the first things I noticed about the man is there was like this aura about him that filled the space around him that was simply peace. How does that work? How do we get it outside of ourselves as well as inside of ourselves?
Well, as one of my teachers put it, for a light bulb to illuminate the room, it first has to be lit within itself. And that saying particularly spoke to me because I came from a family that had no religion, no spirituality. My parents were political activists, and they were wonderful, beautiful political idealists. I mean, I grew up, marching on in peace marches, ban the bomb marches, and my parents hosted all kinds of groups in their living room of various political activist peace groups, and what I noticed after a while was that these people were trying to create peace on the outside, peace in the world, and they did not have a lot of peace within themselves. And something inside me said, that's not going to work. And that was largely responsible, along with my childhood transcendental experiences, of pushing me to look for that. So when you find it within yourself, it just radiates spontaneously. And I know what you're talking about. I've had the good fortune to be with people who are just there, and you can just, some of them you just want to sit down next to them and, put your hand, you kind of get a suntan sitting next to them. And some of them have been, Advaita masters and Zen masters, and some of them were just, the plumber. The guy who comes to fix your sink, who's probably never read a book about meditation or sat down and closed his eyes in his life. But, because it's the most natural thing in the world, some people just slip into that. And they may not even realize, they don't understand. What's everyone else so worried about?
Got it. When I'm working with a large group of people, and you probably experience this as well as a teacher, if I can step into the room, whether it's an auditorium full of people or what, and drop into that place, it changes the whole room, and the whole talk or lecture or class tends to go differently because the people are in a different space. So we can consciously learn to do this, I take it?
Yes. That's exactly what I teach, and I lead groups. I live in Santa Monica, next to Los Angeles, and we host a group that meets regularly there. And I travel wherever people invite me, all over the U.S. and beyond, and lead workshops. I have to use the word workshop because that's the word people use, but it's exactly the wrong word because it's not work. It should be called a playground.
Oh, I so get you there. And isn't that part of the problem of the way we've been approaching meditation or journey work or anything is we make work out of it. We're so headstrong and so tied up in our thoughts and discipline that we kill the thing.
Yeah, exactly. We are task-oriented, and it's understandable. We spend our day doing tasks, but then this is the 5 minutes or 10 or 15, whatever minutes out of the day for letting go of tasks. And part of the skill of teaching, and I've been doing this for over 40 years, and part of the skill of teaching is finding tricky ways to pull the rug out from under people's task orientation to kind of, trick them into letting go. And then once they kind of get the knack of that, it's easier for them to go home and let go like that on their own.
I see a lot of fear involved in that letting go. Would you speak to that?
It's funny you ask because I'm actually, my next book, the one I'm working on right now, is all about fear. We are, as one great teacher put it, we think we're afraid of the unknown, but you can't be afraid of the unknown. You don't know what it is. You're afraid of letting go of the known. And the known, and even if the known is terrible, how many people do you know that will, oh, my marriage is so awful, I hate my job, I'm, this and that. You say, but you might want to take a look at this, and go, oh, no, that's outside my comfort zone. It's their discomfort zone. It's mud, and they're stuck in the mud, but it's mud that they know.
Better the devil you know than the one you don't, huh?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So why do you think we're so afraid of change?
Because I think on a deep level, it's as if because change challenges our idea of who we are. We think we are our body. We think we are our beliefs. For instance, people say, I am, down here in the States, I am a Democrat, or I am a Republican, People say, I am a Christian, or I am a Muslim, or I am an atheist, whatever. But here's a question for you. When you are fast asleep at night, in the state of dreamless sleep, what's your religion? Right, none. No religion, no politics, because those things are not what you are, they are thoughts that you have. It's a structure of thoughts that you have, which is so habitual that you've identified with it and you think that that's you. And so when someone else threatens that structure of thoughts, it's as if you're threatened. It's as if your very existence is threatened. And
we're going to have to take a break, and we'll pick up on this on the other side because it's fascinating. Dean and I will return to our discussion after this short break. We're coming to you through the land of leading-edge paranormal broadcasting, the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Don't miss the other fine shows and hosts on xzbn.net. You're listening to The Science of Magic, thescienceofmagic.net. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. We will be back, so don't you go away. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Dean Sluyter, the author of several highly acclaimed books. His latest, Natural Meditation, a guide to effortless meditative practice. Dean, we were talking about who are we really, and I want to know, how can meditation, natural meditation, help us access who we really are versus what we identify with?
I mentioned in the first segment this idea of gravity. Well, on the cover of my book, there's a picture of a feather floating out of the sky. When a feather floats out of the sky, it reaches the ground in 100% of cases. It may drift a little to the left, it may drift a little to the right, but eventually it's going to hit the ground because gravity is a universal law. In the case of human consciousness, what do we universally gravitate toward? We gravitate toward happiness, fulfillment, that sense of, everything's fine, I don't need to add or subtract anything from this moment, this is it. This is it, right here. And the problem is we're usually looking for that in outer circumstances, outer objects, outer experiences. But, you take your favorite thing. I really like good coffee. My morning drink is a cappuccino breve. And if we take that cappuccino breve and put it in the lab and take it apart and look at all the ingredients, we'll find, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. I don't know what we'll find, but I know one thing we will not find there, which is happiness. So what this tells us is that what actually is going on is when you take that sip of coffee, or when you sink the golf ball in the cup, or when you solve the crossword puzzle, or when you find the one you love, or whatever it is, and you say, at that moment you let go of sinking, you let go of seeking, rather, and in that letting go of seeking outwardly, you settle into the one who was seeking. You settle, you let go of looking for experiences and settle into the experiencer. And actually that is where the happiness is. And in some of the Eastern scriptures, for instance, in Hindu philosophy, the way this is expressed is Atman is Satchit Ananda, which means the self is being, awareness, bliss. This is our very nature. So what natural meditation does is we just take a break for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, something like that, and let go of seeking for that bliss outwardly and allow the natural gravity to pull us inward, to pull the attention to ourself.
So it sounds like it's all about attention, and here we are living in a world that demands our attention. Everything around us seems to demand our attention, from the radio to the TV to the traffic to driving to everything demands our attention be outward. And so how does this help us? How often do you have to practice it so that can you find a place where you coexist inward and outward?
Oh, absolutely. I recommend that people do this every day, and it doesn't have to be for hours. You can, if you've got a person who for 24 hours of the day is, as you said, just caught up in all the outward stuff, everything demanding your attention, and caught up in the drama and the trauma of their lives, caught up in the movie of life, as it were, 24 hours a day. Now take that same person and just have them be caught up in the movie of life for 23 hours and 59 minutes a day. And for 1 minute, they let go of it all. They sink into themselves. They sink into the experience of the pure white screen that is underlying the movie, which is always there. It's the basis of having the experience of the movie. And if you do that regularly, even for a minute a day, and everybody's got a minute, I'm like, I don't want any excuses. Everyone's got a minute. Then as you become more and more familiar with, so to speak, that screen that underlies the movie, this beingness that we are inside, which allows us to experience everything on the outside, then more and more the awareness of that, which is silent, which is peace. We're always looking to find peace. You will never find peace because you are peace. But so we only can find this peace within. This peace, this silence, this natural joy for no reason, Satchit Ananda, as it's called in the Eastern scriptures. More and more as we become familiar with it, we start to pick up the scent of it and realize that it's there in the background. It's been there in the background throughout the whole movie, through the whole 24 hours, all our lives, and more it starts to move into the foreground. So ultimately, the point of meditation is to not have to meditate anymore, so that you're just living that all the time. And that's, in the first segment when you talked about your Lakota teacher, people like that who are just there. That's, to at least some degree, that's what they're experiencing. That's what you're feeling from them, and getting kind of the, some of the contact high, as we used to call it back in the day.
Well, you're giving away our age here.
Yes, in India they call that darshan. Darshan literally means seeing, seeing and being seen by the teacher who is radiating that and just feeling, getting a sense of that. But the real thing happens from doing your own practice every day.
Isn't creating darshan, if you will, one of the finest services we can do to the planet at this time?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you about my UPS man. He's a guy who, as far as I know, has never practiced meditation, has never opened a book on it. He's the guy that drives around our neighborhood in the brown UPS truck, and he is like an ambassador of joy. He's always smiling. He delivers your package, and he just delivers, you can't not smile when you're around him. And it's such a huge service.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely it is. How does meditation differ from shamanic journey work? In shamanic journey work, we can go in and affect a change at the quantum level, or we can get information. How do they compare?
Well, I can't give you a really good answer to that because shamanic work is outside of my field of expertise. But my sense of it is that, and again, this is based on about 80% ignorance. My sense of it is that it involves having particular kinds of intentionality, going in and from the side of the individual, having some intention. You want to bring about X effect, you want to bring about Y change, something like that. And that might have some deep value and some deep power, but by its nature, the value and the power of it are going to be limited because it's coming from the individual mind, which is limited, whereas natural meditation is letting go into the field of limitlessness. It's not coming in with, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's letting go of all doing and being. It's sinking into being, which is boundless.
Dean, we were just talking about the difference between a shamanic journey and meditation. And you were talking about how it was, the shamanic journey was more directed?
Yeah, and I think we can just sum it up by saying that a shamanic journey, from my limited understanding of it, is some form of doing. It may be some deeper, more powerful form of doing than people practice ordinarily, but it still involves doing, whereas natural meditation is really being. It's letting go of doing. And doing, by its nature, is always going to have some limitation on it. It's going to be specific. If we're doing this, we're not doing that. If we're taking a journey, as you say, in this direction, we're not taking a journey in that direction. It may be a wonderful direction, but it's going in a particular direction, whereas being is, we could say, omnidirectional or non-directional, and it's letting go of all doing and just sinking into boundlessness.
Okay, so they have totally different purposes, it sounds like, really. Do you...
Yeah, ultimately, everything we do has the same purpose, which is that we are trying to find that infinite happiness. When you stand in line at the ice cream store and you're looking up at the menu, deciding what to order, what you're looking for is nirvana. You're looking for enlightenment. You're looking for infinite happiness in every moment, but that ain't on the menu, so you settle for Rocky Road. and in a sense, that's the story of our lives. Different versions of that is what we're doing in almost every moment. Now, then we might discover a spiritual world. We discover magic. We might get to more and more sophisticated versions of that. But we're still, from my perspective, still playing out that scenario until we come to that place of boundlessness, which, as I said, I think most of us have tasted it, particularly in childhood, or in particular, maybe what they call peak moments, or being in the zone when you're doing your sport or playing your guitar or making love or something, and then, we just glimpse it and lose it again. But it's possible to live in that place, and I'm not interested in settling for less.
Boy, I hear you there. How can we tell? What effect does that have on our life and our ability to create if we're more living in that place than not?
You probably, a good way to understand this is to look at the opposite. Look at people that who are more stressed than you are, more caught up in confusion. And you notice that for them, things always seem complicated. Things always seem, what about this, and I got to deal with that, and so things just get simpler. What I find, having done this for some years now, is that there's a lot less thinking that I have to do. It's just more and more the path, what I call the path of appropriateness, the path of what to do next, kind of just opens up in front of me. You think of, great hero from your country, Wayne Gretzky, who, when he was a kid, he would watch the hockey games and just on TV, and he would get the overview of how all those people moved around on the ice. And when he finally got on the ice himself, he was a lithe, slender guy. He was like a ballet dancer amongst all those thugs. And he was able to be a great champion just by having a sense, it all happens faster than you can think about it, just seeing where the opening was going to be, where the path on the ice was going to open up in front of him. And in a way, that's what our life becomes like. And other people around us sense it. They just, if they want things to be simple and clear and peaceful and okay and free of unnecessary drama, they go hang around with you.
It's because you're in the flow of life versus fighting it, right?
Exactly.
Put you in the right place at the right time, doing exactly what you need to be doing if we don't outthink ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing because life does have a cadence and a flow, and this is a beautiful way, it sounds like, of reaccessing that.
Right.
Yeah,
and that flow is like, it's like we were talking earlier about the waves.
I'm sorry, Dean, we're going to have to talk about the flow on the other side of another commercial break. Dean and I will be back shortly. You're listening to The Science of Magic, thescienceofmagic.net, the place where altruistic professionals of science and the esoteric create common ground for the better. Though the world seems in turmoil around us, let's not lose our way. The stars still shine down, blessing us with their light. The sun rises every morning, chasing away the cold and darkness. There are good people of service in this world. We have much to be grateful for as we're wrapped in the arms of all of God's creation. This is Gwilda Wiyaka, host of the Science of Magic Radio, wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. I hope your holiday is filled with comfort and joy as you're surrounded by those you love. I'd like to thank all of you for being our loyal listeners on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and for joining us on this grand adventure called life. As the New Year's dawns, let us all stand in truth as we embrace peace. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour, Dean Sluiter, is the author of several highly acclaimed books. His latest, Natural Meditation, A Guide to Effortless Meditative Practice. Dean, let's talk a little bit about what the scientific part of this. What happens to brainwaves when you're meditating? Have there been any studies?
Oh, there have been numerous studies going back at least to the late 60s. And all kinds of indications are there that meditation brings about what we could call a state of restful alertness, a state where the body and the mind are in a settled state more or less as we are in sleep, in dreamless sleep, yet wide awake so that we can enjoy that settledness. It's sort of like, people say, oh, I want peace, I want silence, I want peace of mind. Well, you have peace of mind, you have silence every night when you go to sleep, but you don't get to experience it because you're asleep. It's like, hey, how do you like your 2 weeks in Hawaii? I don't know, I was in a coma at the time. But what has been found is that the changes in brainwave function and in things like GSR and metabolic function and so forth seem to be consistent with a state where the mind is settled, it's in a quiet state as in sleep, and yet it's wide awake so that we have the conscious experience of that silence. and this is completely consistent with, way back before those machines were ever invented, thousands of years ago, the ancient yogis in India talked about 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, dreamless sleep, and then the 4th one, which they called Turiya. Turiya literally means the 4th one. So they were thinking about this in a very systematic way, not vague or mystical at all. And that 4th state was described exactly as this, as conscious silence.
Beautiful.
And then it turns out that kind of marinating in that state of restful alertness on a regular basis has all kinds of good side effects for your health, so that it promotes longevity and better health and healing. And I've taught so many people who've told me that, I used to get 5 colds a year, and my immune system seems to be stronger. I'm not getting them anymore. And I'm getting old enough now that it's fun because people are surprised to find out how old I am. And it seems to have that effect in the long term.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? We tend to, because we've driven ourselves so hard by the do, we've pulled ourselves out of a natural state of being. And just like a car that's driven far too fast and too low of a gear, we wear out faster than we were designed to.
Right. So that, aging, people think of aging as being a direct function of the number of years that you're on the planet, and it's not. It's a function of the amount of stress that you accumulate, which for most people is more or less a function of how many years you're on the planet. But if you think of people like the Dalai Lama, he's in his 80s, and you look at him, he's got the glow of a little kid.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, he does.
And because he's living in that stress-free place where everyone can live. You don't have to be the Dalai Lama. You don't have to be a Buddhist. You don't have to change your lifestyle. You don't have to, sit in the lotus pose, and you don't have to, live on rice and vegetables. Anyone can do this because this is our inner nature. And, my big message, because at this, when I started, I've been teaching this stuff since 1970. And back then, you had to explain to people, no, it's not sleeping on beds of nails, and it's not flying carpets. Now everyone knows, this is a healthy thing. It's good for you. My brother-in-law took a meditation course at the YMCA, and, it lowered his blood pressure. But still, most people think it's hard. And so my message really is, no, if someone shows you how easy it can be, it's effortless. It's beyond easy. It's effortless. If you work hard at it, it's hard. If you take it easy, it's easy.
Nice. Would you mind telling people where they can find your books and services, Dean?
Yeah, my books are at fine bookstores everywhere. You can also visit my website, deanwords.com, and there you can read chapters from all of my books. I've got a book about enlightenment lessons in movies and all kinds of fun stuff. Also on my website, there's a page for guided meditation audio, and you can stream the for free. You can stream the guided meditation audios and have me walk you through the meditation right there from your computer or your phone. My books are on Amazon. Also, my teaching schedule is there. I travel everywhere for workshops, and if you're connected with a learning center or an institution or a corporation, I'm starting to do a lot of corporate work these days. I'll be teaching a workshop for a medical practice out in Omaha soon. Then invite me up. I love to travel. I love to teach this stuff to people.
Well, thank you for the beautiful provision, and thank you for the lovely offerings. And that would be at deanwords.com, correct?
Yes, deanwords.com.
Perfect. How can a meditative practice benefit relationship with ourselves and others?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how anyone stays married that doesn't settle into that place of letting go every day. It's just, I've been so fortunate in this life. I've been married to 2 just wonderful, beautiful women. The first one passed away in 2004, and I met both of my wives on meditation retreats. which I recommend much better than cruising bars.
Highly recommended.
Yeah. I think the proof positive that men are idiots is that they look for women in bars instead of yoga studios. Word to the wise guys, go to the yoga studios. You'll be outnumbered there about 10 to 1, and you'll meet people who are really nice and have some peace in their lives and are living a healthy lifestyle.
Do you think that people who meditate are less prone to manipulation and control by the systems at hand?
Oh, yeah, sure. Because, the way that people are manipulated and controlled, and I mean, you may have noticed that down here south of the border, we're involved in this furious political campaign right now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which is, so much of it is about just manipulation of people and manipulation of their emotions, and you can make something up and you say it over and over and over, and people think that that's reality. It's like hypnosis, and because you get caught up in other people's words and other people's desires for what they want you to do. When you settle into yourself, and really by self, as we said earlier, not even just your opinions, not even just your emotions, but the core of your being, which is the silent waters underneath all of those waves, then you're finding the place that is not influenced by any of that. You're finding your ultimate strength. And then when you come back out, you still interact with all of that, but it slides off your back a little more.
So you kind of access a balance point, and from that balance point, you can better discern what's real and what's not?
Yeah. More, you're settling into deepest truth. Everything else is relative truth, like, whatever. This guy is a good writer. That's a great restaurant. These politics make sense. That's all relative truth. It can, you can go to your favorite restaurant for 5 years, and one day you go and it's not that great anymore. And you may not even be sure. Is it the restaurant that changed? Did they change the chef, or is it me? That was not absolute truth. It was relative truth. And everything in the phenomenal world, in the world of happening, on the waves on the surface of life, is going to be relative. Only that silence underneath is absolute truth. And that gives us the scent. We know what, in a sense, we could say we know what truth smells like, and then we know what the opposite of truth smells like. And we don't have to think about it much. As I was saying before, your just sense of what's appropriate, your instinct. I used to have this experience, maybe you remember, before cell phones, when, you always knew who was calling you because you see the name on it. But back in the old days, these landline phones, you didn't know. The phone would ring, it would be a mystery. But for some people, and my guess is you had that experience sometimes, the phone would ring, and before picking it up, you would know who was calling you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though you had no logical way of knowing, it was, might be someone you haven't heard from in years. Just you have, and people call that intuition, and more that happens. You have a sense of how things are going and what's true, what's not true, what's going to work.
Dean,
you just bat your head against stuff less.
Time flies, and we're out of it. Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you.
This has been The Science of Magic. Our guest this hour has been Dean SLUYTER, the author of Meditation, A Guide to Effortless Meditative Practice. His website, deanwords.com. Remember, you can always listen to past thought-provoking episodes on our website, thescienceofmagic.net. Don't forget to join us in the next episode of The Science of Magic, and we can also be heard on xzbn.net. The next time, dear ones, may you be blessed with knowledge and comforted with love as you explore your inner sanctum.